return with some good dynamic stuff here for Unbreakable. Today, we are going to be focusing on the B, which stands for behavior mastery. You can't master your behavior until you know what your default is under pressure. So here we go. All right, all right. So the B is really about mastering your behavior. We all have a default that we go back to, and under different pressure, whether it's a loss of a job, a relationship, or studying for a test, or midterms, or trying to elevate your career to the next level, or whether it's simply trying to start a business, trying to get more clients, you have bills is due, you're an athlete, now you've been hurt, now you're on the injury roster, now they are giving you no more love, they've transferred you, uh, you don't have any more insurance. I mean, just the pressure, we tend to all go back to a particular default that we have. And so, a real life story, when you understand about your behavior, you really know how to position yourself. So, when I was going into college, um, I was really good at math, physics, chemistry. So, when you get ready to go into college, what do you think they told you to be? They told you to go into engineering, because engineering is about math, design, creating some things. And so, my first year on campus, uh, my very first semester, I went into the College of Engineering. I declared my major. Halfway through that semester, they kicked me out of the college. They said, "No, you're not gonna make it in this program. In fact, you probably shouldn't even come back around the buildings anymore." And so I then changed my major to accounting. Well, that didn't last too long. I changed my major again to, I believe it was, um, psychology. Well, that didn't quite fit. So now I'm 2 years, 3 years into school, not really knowing how I'm designed, what I'm wired for. I know some things I'm good at. I know some things I've been successful at, but not really knowing how and what I was wired for. And so I end up changing my major 5 times in college, with the last one being on communication management. Now, I really enjoyed that particular field. I did well until I got injured. When I had a 1 percentile injury, I walked away from my scholarship and I got a job. See, one of my defaults was I knew I was a hustler because I knew how to work early in life. I watched my dad work early in life. I watched my mom work early in life. So I had a paper route. I had several landscaping contracts, and I had a bank full of money by the age of 10 years old that I had actually worked and saved for. So I knew how to hustle and I knew how to work. Well, come to find out, 5 years later, and an additional 5 years later, I was really good and seemed to be wired at coaching and training and development and helping other people be successful. So I went back to school with a focus on management and organizational development. And I loved it. I did really well. And that's actually what I do now. I work on developing people, coaching people, helping them to be successful because I understand that if I knew what my primary gifts were designed for, no matter what the pressure was, my default was to go back to hustle. Now, a lot of people don't know what their default behavior is. And so I kind of want to be able to share a couple of points here that's a takeaway. When I was working in a behavioral health organization, and this was one of the tests of me knowing how to really coach people. They had a level 3 program, a level 4 program, and a graduation program that needed to be developed. And so I was the project manager for that. I took that task on, and the goal really was to get all of the organization involved in that development piece. And so I remember taking all of the logical thinkers, the people who love the information, the people who love to research, and I put them all in a room, and we had a staff meeting. And I invited two other gifted people who were gifted in the area of organization, details, step by step programming and planning. And I asked them, hey, I'm going to take notes on a board. Can you organize it in a way that you see fit? And I won't say one word. Your job is just to organize it to make it make sense. And so we ran a staff meeting and we worked on this program 3. We worked on this program 4. We worked on a graduation program, and we took all of the information, put it on a board, and the gifted people that was detailed oriented organized it. Then I took that draft of that organized information and I invited all of the staff that were gifted and had the strength of bringing harmony and unity together, and just having the tone be soft and including everybody. And I asked them to help me to review the information to make sure that it really connected with people, that it emotionally moved people, that people could feel the lessons, they could feel the program, and that it would inspire them. And so those staff came and they did a review, and it was really good. They changed some wording. They made some different connections with, just a few of the layout. And then we took that draft, had a meeting with all of the people who were thinkers, all of the people who were fillers, all of the people who were organized and detailed. And then they were able to take that draft, look at it, and they were all in agreement because they all could see their input in that. And then I took my people who were the go-getters, full of energy. They could run really fast with programs. They could execute really quick. You could put them in a crisis, and they could navigate that. And I taught them how to run that particular program. And so that's what they did. They actually went out and started training and using that particular programming. But that is an example of being able to use everybody's default behavior that was their gifts. And so a lot of times we don't know what our default behavior is in gifts. And sometimes we go to our default behavior when we need to move forward. And so understanding that mastering behavior means learning when to pause, learning when to react, and learning that where there's greatness, that's where you are only able to grow. And that really is the pressure that helps develop you. And so I wanted to just be able to share that couple of things, with you guys. I hope it really helped. And I wanted to give a shout out to uh, one of the listeners, Ron Strine, who lost one of his friends. He's been listening to the Unbreakable podcast, and he's giving some feedback that some things really help. Ron, really sorry for the loss of your friend. Man, I hope you're doing better. And I'm glad that you tuned in. I'm glad that some things are really able to help you. And so as we get ready to wrap up, share the podcast, share some of this information with people, because it may actually be able to help them. And if you want a particular question on a particular subject, don't be afraid to ask or put it in. I'll make sure I get to it and to be able to do it. This whole podcast really came from situations that almost broke me, but didn't. Technically, if I hadn't had the training that I did, I probably would have been broken. I probably would have done some really mean and ugly and nasty things. But I knew, first of all, thank God that I was rooted in the things of God, because had I not, just wouldn't have been good outcomes. And so the whole goal is to help people to become unbreakable, to develop their behaviors for success, and just take tools and tips and take them away and use them in your life and level up. And with that being said, I just want to thank everybody. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. And I will see you then. Take care.